The Monster of Canterlot, Chapter 53. The trip home was far better than the trip to Gerfon's castle. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I still wasn't completely happy with Gerfon, but I had started to, if not forgive him, then at least understand his actions. It was dark by the time we touched down. I was met by only a couple of guards and a porter, who had nothing to do because I had no luggage. That suited me fine anyway, as I didn't know what I wanted to do about the situation with Celestia. I still loved her very much, but that didn't change what she did. I decided to sleep on it and deal with the whole mess in the morning. Or maybe now. I had opened the door to my room to find that Celestia had decided to camp out in my bed. I could have simply taken her room, but that wouldn't do. Instead, I chose to visit Luna, who had court at this time of night. "Nephew, it is good to see you." "You too, Aunt Luna." I walked up to the throne that was flanked by Luna's night guard, whose armor's enchantment gave them all that bat pony look. Honestly, I always liked their look more than the day guards. "You mind if I keep you company?" Mom kinda took over my room. "Not at all, Christopher." Luna gestured with a wing to an open spot on the throne, while she slid over a little to make room for me. "Please, take a seat." I sat down on a cushion that floated over from a small closet behind the throne. Thanks. I could use a rest. We sat there in silence for a few moments before I asked, "I thought this was supposed to be court. Where is every pony?" "Sadly, this is an average turnout for the night court," Luna said. "On the positive side, this allows me to focus on the dreams of our little ponies. Speaking of which, perhaps you should allow me to demonstrate." I leaned against her soft fur and took comfort in the warmth radiating from her. "Alright, but before I do, I need to know something." "Anything for you, dear nephew. Ask me anything you like." "Did you have anything to do with Mom and Gerfon's plan to keep me in the dark and locked away?" Luna was silent for a moment. She seemed to want to make sure everything was spoken with no chance for a misunderstanding. "I took no action in it, but I did know of Sister's plan." I could see in her face that Luna was saddened by this fact. "She believed wholeheartedly that keeping you where you were and uninformed was the best way to keep you safe and out of reach of Tyrok. Remember, he is a power-hungry monster who would not hesitate to drain you of every ounce of magic in your body. I do not believe that death would have given you a third chance." I yawned and stretched before curling up on my cushion. "Grafon and Celestia said pretty much the same thing." I think I'm finally starting to get it. I rested my head on Luna's hip. It still pisses me off, though. Luna laid down on the throne and spread a wing over me for warmth. "I know, nephew, and that shows how much you care." Breakfast was quiet. There wasn't a lot to discuss. At least, there wasn't a lot I wanted to talk about. Celestia was there, though there seemed to be some puffiness under her eyes I wasn't used to seeing. So was Luna and the blonde pain. Us three alicorns were eating in a sort of awkward silence, while Blueblood seemed to be very content with himself. If I wasn't so preoccupied with how upset Celestia was, I might have noticed how this was a mirror of most other mornings. Bunny was there as usual, but she wasn't saying much. She always seemed to have a sense of when things weren't quite right. Things weren't right either, but I could try to make them right. It could take time, though. Luckily, time is something alicorns have in abundance. As the dishes were being cleared, I addressed my family. "Mom, Aunt Luna, I'd like to talk to you both in private, if I may." "Of course, sweetie," Celestia agreed, while Luna nodded. "Guards, maids, Bluebud, please give us the room." I waited patiently as they obeyed the order of their princess/aunt. Once cleared, I stood from my seat, walked over to Celestia, and hugged her tightly. "First, I'm sorry I made you so upset. I hate seeing you like this." Celestia tightened her half of the hug, but didn't say anything. "Second, you lied to me and tried to keep me locked up in another country." Celestia released me from the hug. "I know, but it was for my own safety, I know. I believe, and I understand. That doesn't mean I have to like it. You and every pony else know and love were in serious danger, and I had no idea. Remember how you felt when I was taken by Chrysalis? That's how I felt. The look on Celestia's face told me just how well she understood. I love you very much, but I feel like I can't trust you to be honest with me. I'm going to go back to Ponyville for a little while, at least until I get over this mess. Celestia was about to say something, but Luna stopped her by placing a hoof on her shoulder. We understand, Christopher. We are both very sorry that you feel this way, but I believe you are making a fairly wise choice. Griffon helped me make it. I don't want to spend my life filled with anger. I kissed Celestia and Luna on the cheek. I'll be back soon. I promise. I'm going to hold you to that, Celestia said as she hugged me again. I love you. And I love you too, Mom. Chris, what brings you to Ponyville? Twilight asked after Spike showed me to the library in her new castle. She was carefully shelving books and being held by Rarity. My own stupid stubbornness. I can't help but feel angry about Mom, Luna, and Griffon all working together to keep me locked up in his castle, while you and every pony else were here, fighting for your lives. Oh, darling, I'm so sorry to hear that. Though, I think fighting for our lives might be a little much, Rarity said. We were in danger, certainly, but I don't think T-Rex wanted to kill us. He only wanted to take our magic. That's right. And though if he had gotten to you, it would most definitely have meant... Alright, I get it. That's why I said it was stupid. I sat down on the floor and picked up a random book and looked at it without really noticing anything about it. I know it was for my own good. I get that. Rather, I know that to be the truth. But I can't help but feel like everyone was against me. If that's true, then why are you here in Ponyville instead of trying to work this out with the princesses? Rarity asked. So I can cool down before I do or say something I'll regret. Griffon told me about what happened between him and his father. I don't want that for Mom and me. I guess that makes sense. You want to stay here with me? There are plenty of rooms in this castle, and Willow has proven to be a pretty good cook. Willow? Desert Willow? She's living here? Oh, yes. The deer has proven to be very helpful, Rarity offered. Plus, she's been helping me develop a changeling detection system. Once I get a functioning prototype, we can start working on the changeling sanctuary idea you had. That's great, Dwight. We've got to do something better for them than chaining them up in the dungeon for the rest of their lives. And Willow has proven that they aren't all like the Queen. True enough, but do you really think that other ponies would be willing to give her kind a chance to join in our society? Rarity asked. I think it's possible, but old scars can run deep. To this day, Aunt Luna has issues with ponies thinking she's still Nightmare Moon in disguise, plotting to overthrow her sister. All I can do is hope for the best. If Twilight manages to get her detector working, then maybe ponies won't be scared. At least, as scared. My plan is to set them up close enough to the Crystal Empire so they can feel it on the love and joy of the Namisphere so that they no longer have to go out hunting. Poor Willow was force-fed so much of stuff that she had to be sent home after a few hours for her own health. Yes, then perhaps your plan has merit. I do so hope everything works out, darling. One can only hope. Alright, now that I have a place to sleep, I'm going off to see my beautiful little Pegasus. I soon came in for a landing in the front yard of Fluttershy's cottage. As soon as I made contact with the ground, I could feel my spirits lifting. When I saw Fluttershy through the window, I swear I could almost float. But then I saw him. Discord. The monster was just sitting there, enjoying tea in tiny pink teacups. He was sipping his tea and laughing. That traitor was right there, in the very home of the pony he betrayed the worst. She was the first one to give him a chance, and he turned on her. I couldn't handle it anymore. Traitor! I roared as I lunged through the window at Discord. Discord dodged by simply sliding his chair back and up the walls to the ceiling, hanging upside down from it as if he were still on the floor. Oh, party crasher, he chuckled. Chris, Fluttershy exclaimed. I came up on one knee with my back to Fluttershy, one arm out to shield her. Stay away from her, I warned as I slowly reached for my sword. I normally carried my steel sword, but because of my recent mood swings, I decided to leave it at home and bring along my wooden training sword. It wouldn't kill anybody, but it still hurt to be whacked by it. You know, you could have simply asked to join our tea party, Discord teased. You don't deserve to even be here! Fluttershy wrapped her legs around my waist. Stop. He's sorry for what he did. Please, just give him another chance. It figuratively killed me to have this argument, or any argument with Fluttershy, but I was going to have my say on this one. He's had enough chances. This guy screwed up the world so bad, he had to be hit by the elements. Twice! Then, because of him, Mom and Luna were captured by some magic plants that caused you and your friends to give up your elements. Now, he's allowed Mom, Luna, and Cadence to be sent to Tartarus, in chains, before giving you, his first friend, over to a power-hungry psycho so he could play around unchecked again. He's had his chances! Discord floated down to the floor and actually touched down, like a normal pony. That in itself was surprising enough, but then he spoke. You're right, of course, Discord said with sincerity. I don't deserve Fluttershy's friendship, but if she's going to offer it, then I'm going to accept it. He said the last part with a sad smile on his face. Yes, he feels just terrible about what he's done, and he hopes that every pony will eventually forgive him. I decided to offer him at least my hope in friendship. I put my sword away and slowly stood up, never taking my eyes off Discord. I reached back and held Fluttershy's face in a single hand without even looking. I'm sorry, Fluttershy. I love you, but if I spend any more time in his presence, I might just try to rip his tail out through his throat. Wait, Discord interrupted. I believe I've caused enough grief for one day. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers, causing the window I smashed through to reform itself, surprisingly without any hijinks. Fluttershy, I look forward to our next meeting, and this time, I really will bring the cucumber sandwiches. With another snap of his fingers, Discord was gone. As soon as he was gone, I felt my muscles loosen up, my heart rate lower, and the adrenaline slow. It made me feel tired. Tired and depressed. I dropped my knees and put my head in my hands. Shortly after, I felt a hoof gently touch my arm. My hand shot out and dragged the soft Pegasus against my chest. We were both silent for a few moments before Fluttershy spoke. Chris, are you alright? No, Flutters, I'm not. I can't stop being angry at every pony. Worse yet, I know I shouldn't be. You're the only one I know I can count on. I held her tighter to me. Please, just let me stay like this a little longer. Fluttershy rested her head against my shoulder and sighed. We can stay like this for as long as you need. Thank you, Flutters. I love you. I love you too, Chris. We stayed that way for nearly 20 minutes. After my nerves calmed down and the world seemed normal again, I released Fluttershy from my grip. She looked into my eyes as if to make sure I was certain. I smiled down at her and kissed her on the nose, which made her giggle in that adorable way of hers. I'm sorry about that, Fluttershy. I've just been off since the attack. The only thing that seems to bring me back to normal is thinking about you and unbearably cute smile of yours. Fluttershy blushed heavily at that. I smirked. Yes, and your blush too. You bring me back from the brink every time I'm about to fall. I don't just love you, Flutters. I need you. Fluttershy didn't have a response for that. She simply tightened her hug around me, though I could feel some dampness through my shirt. I need you too, Chris. You make me feel safe, like nothing can ever hurt me. I like that feeling. I'm glad. I put Fluttershy up and set her aside, then stood up. Now, if you'll excuse me for a moment, I just stretch my wings, and I don't want to bump a cage in here. The feathers in my wings had gotten a little disheveled and were starting to irritate me to no end. Guess that's going to happen when you get all puffed up in a rage. I'll be right outside. Alright, I'll be in here when you're done. I took a few steps away from the door and stretched, my wings extending to full spread. With just a few flaps and folds, I had all my feathers back to where they needed to be, where the proverbial itch had been scratched. May I have a moment of your time? A deep voice asked. The moment I heard it, all my feathers became disheveled again. I spun on my heels and reached for his excessive throat. He wasn't there anymore. Can I at least speak before you resort to your baser instincts? Speak, I growled, wings flared and body tense. You were right. What? What you said inside. You were right. I don't deserve to be here. Every pony's acting like nothing happened, but it did. Oh, don't get me wrong, I don't care about what I did to every pony else. His grin when he said this made me want to kill him in the worst way. But my betrayal of dear Fluttershy bothers me. I'm not used to feeling guilty about anything I've done. So, I offer you the chance of a lifetime. What do you mean? I lowered my stance and readied myself for whatever was to come next. Whatever I was expecting, I was not expecting his chin to triple in size. You get to have one free shot. And that was how I broke my hand the second time.